This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, so yeah, yesterday's session we were talking about so the project, right? So we're just trying to talk about what are the components which are involved in the project, and so we're actually trying to, or we are going to start, so deploying those particular components, and we will. Okay, so we will. Okay, we'll set up one by one component. Just to say, we'll set up one by one component. Now over here, so actually I set it up. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, so the question comes here is even I am putting my question a question to myself. Okay, I do something, but how do I cross verify? How do I cross verify? There should be a cross verification should be done that if my application is working fine or not. Okay, if my application is fine working, I deploy the application. Okay, I cannot say my job is done, right? It's a minimum responsibility. I have to go and check whether the application which I set it up is really working or not. Okay, so that is where I want to showcase you this application setting up upfront in a very shortcut way, and I wanted to okay, so use those particular screenshots, understand basically, and then we will say that okay, yes, okay, so if this option is working fine, then what are the component you installed in the backend is working. Okay, otherwise it is not working. All right, so that's where I would like to take 1 server and I want to deploy this particular application directly from the guy, whatever, so from the GitHub of this particular. Yeah, so let me launch an instance. You no need to do this. Technically talking about, you no need to really follow these steps what I'm following now. Okay, so you don't need to bother at all. So you go with community MIs, and you go for DevOps practice. Select it, and I'll go for a better larger instance. So basically I can go for even for large instance just to make the things faster. So one instance I'm going to run all the components. That's where I'm just choosing bigger instance. Also I'll go for a request spot instance basically. Okay, so that's where even I get the less cost, and add storage, and this one, security group. Yeah, so you have already a security group, just choose that. Preview and launch, proceed without a key pair, launch instances. So all the steps what I'm going to do now, you're really no need to bother about that, because so we will set up the application each and everything individually, and at that time you'll understand that. So okay. This command just takes a bit time starting. But don't worry about any of this. I'll talk about this as well later. So we just want to keep a reference. What we're trying to do is, okay, like later I'll go set up one by one piece, one piece. But how do I ensure that it is really working or not? So I need some kind of a reference, right? So say stating, yes, if this is coming, yes, this piece is working. Okay, like that. Okay, and just setting up one by one component. We're almost there. I think we're okay to hit it. So let me go to the server. Take this server and zero. Yeah, you're getting this. So when you open this particular, the very first place, actually, if you go and recompare this, so if you just see the 3-tier architecture, what we are having is, so the front end, and in between you have some more components, in the back end you're having some more components, right? So that is where, if it is a front end, okay, if it is a front end, if you are hitting, okay, so you are going to see, these things. You're going to see the web page. Now, in this particular web page, if you are seeing the categories, okay, that means it is okay. One piece is working fine, so which is catalog. Okay, so yeah, I will just make a screenshot and I'll just give it for a reference. So take this. Let me. So if yeah, if this is showing, okay, then this is okay. In the backend, catalog is working. You can say catalog component is working. So catalog means that it shows a list of items, right? So that's the point. And I will just take you here and put this particular screenshot for the reference as well. Okay, next. Fine. I'll go to the register and click on my registration name, local.com, and then Rabu. I'm giving. So click on register. So if it actually adds a user, okay, your registration is successful, then certain components actually worked actually. Okay, so this is also the same story. If this is being shown, okay, so then okay, user service worked. Okay, so there is a user service also there, right? So what all the services we have here? There is a user service. Catalog is done, user is done. Okay, so that is the second thing, and you have this. And after that, watch. So you go to the any product. You click on add to cart. Okay, you click on add to cart. So then if it is showing in the cart, that means cart service is working fine. Okay, so add to cart, and second one is should list in cart. Okay, when you click on add to cart, that item should show in the cart. Okay, so it's having some number here, right? It's already. So that's where I would say that cart service is also working fine. Okay, so yeah, okay, fine, cart service is fine. Now let's click on cart. We go to the cart, it is showing this item, and click on checkout, and it actually should show the country's information. Okay, so if you're actually going for so this one, then shipping service is working fine. Shipping is not a shipping basically, so it's just going to calculate how much how much price for shipping basically. Okay, so if this works, then if this shows, if countries been showed, countries are showed, then shipping is working. So then shipping is working, and so here it is. Go with the something. Okay, so just click on calculate, confirm, and click on pay now. Okay, so once you click on pay now, and if your order is showing like this, if order ID is showing, then payment is working fine. Okay, so if this order ID is been shown, okay, so then payment is working. Payment is working. That's it. Okay, so these are the things which we need to understand basically. So when you set up the application, whether it is working or not working, so these screenshots will help you. Okay, this is a simple shortcuts you need to look in there. Okay, if any of that is not working, so that means that piece is not working. All right, so that's how we are going to do now. All right. Now, if we set up one by one component, so then those components. Now, let's say if catalog is not working, like let's say if it is not showing the categories, that means catalog is not working. And if you also refer the project diagram, basically if catalog is not working, so then there might be a problem. It is not contacting the MongoDB. So this is the relation, right? Because Kotlin talks to MongoDB. So that time we'll debug the issues between catalog and Mongo. What is the issue? Okay, like this. But the overall, so when you actually run the application, these are the things which are expected to run. Okay, cool. So we'll go with one by one. Okay, so is everyone clear on this? What I'm trying to achieve? I just created one server just to demonstrate how my working application looks like. Then I can go and set it up. Yeah. Any questions on this? Okay. So yesterday we created already some 2 servers. I will just start that server. Now there are 2 servers. Which server is which server? I don't know, right? So I cannot actually go and differentiate which server is that one. So that's where, so the Amazon will help you in doing with some tagging. Okay, so you can go ahead and add some tags here on this particular server. You have some tags. You go there and you just click on manage the tags and add a tag. So there is a name tag, which is a default tag which can show on the list. So which can be coming as which should be coming as, like, let's say if I say this is a front end, just click on save, and now that particular front end will try to show here. Okay, so let me refresh. Yeah, it is showing here. Or else you can directly, that name tag you can directly edit here. Amazon provides you that flexibility as well. This UI, you can directly say that this is a catalog also. Okay, so you can directly do this here also. It's up to you. Whether you go to the tags and you add a lot of tags here, okay, or you go to here and add this. But somehow this is, I see that this is not a spot instance basically. So I'm just terminating the instance. So this is really not a spot instance. Why? Because some tag should be there. If it is a spot instance, it should be telling that, no. Okay, these are template versions. All right. All right, okay, that's fine. No problem. We'll launch one more, no issues. This is also a spot instance. So you can verify that by going to the spot requests. So I think yesterday we created the spot 2 servers, right? So now one will go to, so the other one will go to, later it will just update the status because I terminated the instances, right? So it will just update the status here. So anyhow, first server, it's not there anyhow. Any content is not there. I'll take this as a front end. Okay. So this, yeah. Let me start this server. So the first server, which is a front end. And if you go to the documentation, so you'll be having a front end related documentation. So all you need to do is just follow one by one step. So there is a steps given. This is written on top of Nginx, or this is designed to run on top of Nginx. So we have to install Nginx. After that, we have to deploy some content. So that content you are actually downloading from this URL. Where is this URL and all? You'll see it later. Okay, we'll talk about that anyhow. Okay, don't worry about this. So for now, worry about this particular part. Okay, just running the steps, just copy paste. And these commands, every command you should be knowing it, what it is doing. You already know that, right? All these commands, we already talked about that. Now let's log into the front end box and so I'll just log into the root user and do this. And also one more thing. So here, this name, this IP address, remembering the 10 hosts are there, which IP address is which node. No, so remembering is a little difficult. So since you're dealing with 10 servers, you open 10 windows of PuTTY, which server is what? It's a bit difficult, right? Yes, yeah. So that's where I just gave one command here. So set -host name. So this command will help you if you give front end, okay, and you just exit once again, and you just use sudo su - once again. Now that particular prompt actually shows that as a front end. Okay, so this is what a simple hack I'm doing, so to make our life easy. Okay, so that is only to just to make the life easy, but it's not really kind of doing anything in the operating system. Just on the display level, I'm just masking it and showing it as front end. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, and if you are dealing, since you are dealing with multiple nodes, you can do that. And also these servers will shut down automatically at the time, if nothing is running out there. So in 60 minutes, so I would also go and stop that particular one, disable auto shutdown. These are my commands only. These are my image commands. You don't expect these commands to run in other operating systems. Okay, like other CentOS 7, you take it, you don't expect this command. This is my image and this is my commands only. Okay, so yeah, so fine. And these are the two things I generally prefer to run on every node. Okay, so I'm inside front end, right? So now, and yeah, and the next thing is let's start one by one document. So first one is yum install Nginx. I just copy this one, this one. Okay, and Nginx is installed. Yum, you know that yum install is going to install the package. Like systemctl enable is going to start the service even after you reboot the machine. The system will start up automatically. And the systemctl start, you know that. So systemctl start is going to start the Nginx service. So you can verify if the Nginx service is running or not. Yes, I can update for Nginx. This is one way you can verify, or you can go and ask the systemctl status nginx. Okay, so either of the way is fine. So active running, or else I can use ps here. Anything is fine. Okay, cool. Now after that, I want to download this one. And also very important thing in the documentation, the hash symbol denotes that you should run it as a root user. Okay, or root user or root privileged, anything is fine. Okay, so that's where don't just copy that hash. You need to just copy this much only after hash. Okay, don't copy. That's a hash is a very common notation. If you refer any of the Linux documentations, they will either show a hash symbol or a dollar symbol. Dollar means normal user, hash symbol means root user. That's where. Okay, now I want to copy this particular call command, and I'll just take this and okay, so you did that. So you actually downloaded in a file called as this one. Okay, /tmp frontend.zip file. Now you have to go to cd/share nginx html. Okay, ls, and there are some files. I'm going to remove them, rmf and rf star. That's what is given, and just did that. Now unzip the file whichever you downloaded. Okay, so downloaded some files here. Yeah, undo ls. You have some content here. Okay, and the next one is so move static this one to here. Okay, done. So that means what actually you're doing. So mv command is actually going to move the files from one location to another location. Move the files which are all, if all files under static, all files under static, move it to dot means present directory, right? Dot means present directory, dot means parent directory. Okay, in this location you move it. Okay, so that's where you're actually moving into this location. And so after that you just remove these files which is really not needed. It is really not needed. Just do this as well. Okay, and mv localhost, and you will move it into etc nginx default.d. You know what is default.d? I tried to explain you yesterday, right? If you are actually adding some more you are actually adding certain locations to your server configuration, like let's say etc nginx.conf file, it actually loads this particular locations / do something, this do something, this do something. So now it actually having include all the files in default.d start.conf. Okay, so I am going to go and include this file /etc nginx default.d and then roboshop. So here it is actually going to kind of loads all these things. Okay, so a lot of locations are there. So what you are doing, proxy pass. Proxy pass means reverse proxy you are doing. Okay, reverse proxy you are doing. All right, that's fine. And finally, systemctl restart nginx. Okay, so now the web server is running. The web server is running. You can go ahead and try to hit this particular one on the browser. Now you get the front end page, but you're not getting the categories. You're not getting the categories. Why are you not getting categories? Because the catalog application is not running, right? The catalog should be running, and you should tell your front end that, hey, this is my catalog also. You should do that. Okay, so how do you do that? Okay, so that's where so that's where we need to set up our catalog. So that means now you understood that. Okay, so previous screenshots, if you refer, it's actually not showing categories. Then which component is not working? Catalog is not working. So catalog is not working. So that means we have not set up the catalog. So we'll go and set up the catalog. All right. So let's take a server and set up the catalog. Okay. Let's go to Amazon and launch an instance. Basically, launch instance from template is fine. And which template? So here it is my spot 1 something. I made it. So the latest version is 3, might be, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it's correct. You just go and launch. That's it. Okay, let's go to EC2. So there's already one instance came up. So because previously we terminated the instance and this d3 small. So the spot request, okay, if you remember, we made it as, so stop as the termination behavior. Okay, so stop as the termination behavior. I just actually terminated the instance. My spot instance, okay, thought that, okay, this instance got terminated, but actually I'm looking for a stop is considered as a so stop means I should always consider this as a persistent. So that means once my server is missing, let me go and create a server. So the spot will go ahead and recreate the server again. Okay, so that's what happened. That's fine, no issues. So and here I will go and save this as catalog. And actually catalog is actually depends on, even though you set up the catalog, it will not work because catalog is depends on Mongo you go for. So let's start with Mongo. I think I already specified the documentation in order, so which component you have to take first. Okay, let's go with Mongo. And I will say here, so first thing is you can have some Mongo manual steps if you want. I can actually you have available in this document. Now, if you want to set up the MongoDB, so what we're doing is we're creating a file called as etc m.repos.de mongodb.repo. You know what this file does, right? So this file gives a flexibility for your yum command to look in other places as well. So you're adding a location. What is the location you're adding? You're locating a base URL of this one. What this command technically doing, you will understand this in scripting part. Okay, but for now, let's log into the front-end instance. Or even in fact, if I log into this, I don't want to log out. Let me open another window. So I will say here, okay. So now I wanted to go with okay. So hyphen set hyphen host name. This is MongoDB, and just give again come back and again sudo su hyphen. Okay. So now it is coming as MongoDB, and also go for disable auto shutdown. Okay, these two things I mandatorily execute. Now you know where you're executing the command, right? So you have two windows, both looks like the same thing. You rather than referring the IP, you see the name and you're able to easily understand where you are in currently, right? So that's the idea. Now let's go with step by step. Copy. After that, installing MongoDB. So let it happen. I'll be just back in a minute. Yeah, sorry. Okay, and yeah, so it started, and the systemctl enable MongoDB and systemctl start MongoDB only, right? Yeah, start MongoDB. The MongoDB is installed. Okay, so now basically, if you look into the you look into the netstat-lndb, so it's opening a port. And if you look into the port of this MongoDB, it's actually giving, so generally you look in 22 port, it's actually giving 0000, right? So whereas the MongoDB is giving something else. it's actually giving 127.0.0.1. So that means the MongoDB is actually allowing only the local users of the local system. I mean, the local user of that particular local system only can connect the MongoDB. But technically talking about who contacts to the MongoDB for my MongoDB is connected by catalog, and which is another server, right? If you look into this, the catalog will contact this, and also like my user app will also contact this. Okay, so technically talking about this, there's other servers actually who go and talk to that. Okay, so that's where I need to update my configuration stating that up to my MongoDB that it should be opening to the public, the outside of the server, not to the local server. So it's actually locally connecting. So that means if my catalog sits in the same server, it can contact to that. But that's not how my architecture is. My database, I want to connect from the outside. Okay, so that's where I want to open etc mongo d.conf file. So there's a configuration file available here. So the bind IP is given as here as 127.0.0.1, and we'll be replacing that with okay, so 0.0.0.0. So yeah, so 0.0 means it's technically talking about as a global. 0.0.0.0 notates global, anyone. Okay, yeah, so save and quit. Now you update to the configuration, it will not actually get applied immediately. So you have to restart the service systemctl restart MongoDB. And you go and give netstat-lntp. So now you see this is working fine. Yeah. So that's where I mentioned the document. So, update the IP from 127.0.2 in the config file. The config file is etc mongodb.conf file. And you did the restart. Now, every database usually will have some schema. Okay. So how the database looks like, database table. How a database table looks like generally, if you look into the databases, the tables looks like this, rows and columns, right? So rows and columns, and so in this column I should store a name, first name, last name, address, city, age, like this. You're columnizing it. Okay, so that's where in database world we call it as a schema. We call it as a schema. So where to store what data and things like that. So some layout will be created, and that's where you go and keep your data. Okay. So, and that's where, so this MongoDB also offers some schema. I'll be just taking that particular schema. So this is a command to download the schema, and download it and go to temp directory. So cd/tmp directory. So you'll find out the zip file and zip mongo.zip file. Okay, done. Now I'll go for Mongo. Mongo is a client to contact the MongoDB database. Okay, so if I hit a Mongo enter, it takes me inside the database. Okay, you're in a database prompt, and you can go and give show DBS. So the list of databases it is showing. I'm quitting, I'm coming out, or I'm giving exit, I'm coming out. Okay. Now I want to load the schema here. I want to load the schema here. So how do I load is Mongo? And there are two JS files came, users.js and catalog.js. And I just want to load those particular files, and I'll go for Mongo and give an input redirector. You don't know that at this point of time. In scripting, you'll understand that. You load users, you give catalog also. So two files has been loaded. And if I go for simply Mongo and show DBS, now it will show that catalog and users database is being created. Okay. So yeah. All right. So that's how we are going to so deal with any kind of a database. So generally talking about, so database work, you might get it in the organization, but most time keep in mind that there's also a database guys actually along with us who might work, okay, along with the database, or in some agile projects actually the developer itself, they load the schema and that's it. Okay, so the maintenance work and all is not that much will be there. Like, I mean, back in old databases, you used to have a lot of work, like like Oracle database or things like that. But these databases are smart enough, and so there'll be less operations work around the certain NoSQL database. Mongo is a NoSQL database. Okay, so yeah, so keeping that in mind. So the last components, our scope. This is not our scope of the syllabus even. Typically talking about. So we focus on majorly we'll set up these things. No doubt we'll talk about the standardization, we'll set up the things, but still our focus is majorly on this area, the first two areas. Okay, last area is something mostly need to be done by a database guy. But yeah, so having a knowledge is also, you should have the knowledge, and that level only we'll try to talk about that. So yeah, that's where I'm not talking about the, later also I'll not talk about the high availability of the database, what are the work involved in the database, things like that. We'll not talk about that. Goes in a separate line. We'll become a database administrator, not a DevOps guy. Okay, so just kidding. But yeah, so having a knowledge is fine, and at least I'm not master in any of the database, but I'm still surviving, right? So yeah, why? Because it's really not needed, and again, that depends upon the project and project. So that's okay. So usually whenever the DevOps engineers comes, okay, so whenever a manager kind of try to build up a team, so this is what the different factors he considers. So he will pull a person who is from a database background, transformed into database. Okay, so that's where he'll get a flexibility of the person who knows the database and as well as the DevOps tools. Like you take mine example. So I come from a middleware and Linux administration majorly. So I transformed into DevOps area, and that's where my skill set is something else. So the same way some build and release engineer coming in. So that's where they form a team, kind of a mixed kind of thing, so that so everyone can take care of everything, and yeah, at the same time, okay, the things will run. So that's okay. So now the MongoDB is set up now. So now all I need to do is I need to go to my catalog server and set up my catalog. That's it. I loaded the schema. That's it. So the next one is catalog, right? And the catalog is actually this server. Take this server. So first thing first, just exit once and log in. You will get the catalog prompt. So this is catalog, and so catalog is actually the service is responsible for showing the list of items to be sold on the RoboShop e-commerce portal. Of course, this service is written in Node.js. Okay, so the service is written in Node.js. So who decides whether to go with Node.js or something? That's not our choice. The developer is actually already made the product. We're just operating the product. That's it. So that's why this service is running on Node.js, and we're actually going with Node.js. And the advantage of the microservice is basically it brings a flexibility to the developer to use a multi-technology. Okay, so monolith, I mean, we're talking about advantages, right? So if it is a monolith, whether you like the product or you don't like the product, you have to die with a single product. That means you started your product with Java, you end up with Java only. Because most components are, so it's a single product which is coming out of that, right? But whereas microservices is an advantage. Okay, so they can go with multiple development languages. Okay, like let's say Java is very good in some standard operations. They can go for Java. Like let's say they want a super fast application, so the response has to be super fast. Then probably today's world people are preferring to go with some Go language. Okay, they can go with Go language. They're writing some analytics kind of application. Okay, so which Python has a rich modules in that. So then they go with the Python. Okay, so that gives a flexibility, free hand for the developer to choose the technology as well. Microservices allows them to choose the technology. They really need not to be the same. They really need not to be the same. Same technology all the time. Okay, development language all the time. They can go with freehand. So that's where. So some components of this guy actually chosen, a Node.js basically. So these are running on Node.js, and we are actually going to set up the Node.js one. So I install Node.js, and along with the Node.js, there are some other utilities like GCC is a compiler, C compiler. And also make is also another utility, which you will see that what is the purpose of this utility later. But actually this Node.js uses these two utilities as well. So that's where I'm giving all the three packages installed in a single time. Okay, so that is installed, and the next one is yeah. Now let's set up the catalog application. Yeah, as a part of we already talked about this. As a part of operating system standards, we run the applications and database as a normal user, but not as a root user, isn't it? We already talked this particular point in the sessions, right? So run the catalog service, we choose as a normal user. Okay, so to run the catalog service, we choose to run as a normal user, and that username should be relevant to the project. Okay, so should be something relevant. Okay, it can be relevant to the service, or it can be relevant to the project. So something will be there. So hence RoboShop is the project. I want to choose RoboShop. Okay, so user add RoboShop. Now you should get a question that so hey Raghu, you told me something that you cannot add a user without a group. Now how are you giving user add RoboShop, and how it's gonna work? Yes, it will work. Now what happens is technically talking about so this RoboShop, a group will be created first, and it will add the user also to that group. A group of RoboShop will be created, and a user RoboShop also will be added into that particular group. Okay, so yeah, that's the behavior of your user add command. Okay, but still my statement remains same, right? So without a group you cannot add a user. So this is going and adding a group and adding a user. That's it, nothing more than that. All right, that's fine. Now the next thing is you observe this, you're actually putting the dollar symbol. Now that means we have to switch to RoboShop user and run the commands. Okay, so that means su-RoboShop, I can go and view that. Okay, so this is the command to download the files which are related to RoboShop, catalog. And so you have to go into this directory and create this particular mkdir catalog. Okay, ls and a cd catalog, and unzip the files which you have it in /tmp/catalog.zip file. Actually supposed to be, give me 1 second, I need to clean up certain files. So these files are not expected. Let me, but I think that takes time, let it be. Okay, so unzip the file and you go and give npm install. Okay, so npm install is going to install the dependencies which are needed for the Node.js to run that particular Node.js project. So there is some code, some JS code which is available. So some JS code. So this particular JS code is going to run some application, and it requires some dependencies. So now you give npm install, it goes and downloads that and installs that particular dependencies. Okay, so that's where you can run the application. So now your application is ready to run basically. But how do you start the service? As a standard practice, so I want to take the help of systemd, and I want to as a standard practice, I want to go with systemd and start with systemd. But systemd doesn't know about my service because I didn't install through RPM. This catalog came as a zip file and I extracted some files. That's it, right? So that is where I would like to go and so use some systemd file. I already made some systemd file, so cat systemd.service file. So here you already have this. Now go back to the root user, because the next steps I'm going to perform is through the root user. So the next thing is, it is telling is we need to update the IP address of the MongoDB in the systemd.service file. Yes, of course. So now vim/home/roboshop/catalog and systemd.service file. Okay, so here there is a variable set it up. So to which Mongo it has to connect. So you have to give the Mongo address. So that's where this Mongo_DNS name or whatever it is, the IP address is fine. You can take this particular MongoDB server IP address, take this and put this. Okay, and 7 quit. What is my next step? my catalog is telling me move this file here to etc systemd system dot catalog service. So now you move the file to here in this place. Okay, cool. And systemctl, you have to tell to your systemctl that, hey, I loaded one file, I added one file, can you reload? Then you tell your systemctl to daemon reload. So then it reloads and it identifies this file is there. Now you can give systemctl start catalog, okay, and tail -f. You don't know this command, I'll talk about this, where log messages. So it's actually telling that, you know, it started the MongoDB on, started the catalog on 8080 app, and it connected to MongoDB. So that means my catalog side, it is fine. Catalog is completely fine, no issues with catalog. Okay, now what is this tail -f? You know tail command. Tail command will give you the last 10 lines. So tail will give you the last 10 lines, but actually I want last 10 lines. At the same time, if any new lines are getting added to this log file, I want to continuously monitor them. I want to continuously follow them. Okay, so that's where -f come into picture, -follow. So that means what all the lines you just add, it get added to that particular file, it just continuously shows on the screen, which will help you in understanding what is going on in that file. What's going on in an application. Every application writes a log entry, and by seeing the logs, actually we'll come to know that, hey, okay, it is fine, it is bad, or something like that. Okay, so that is where I came to know that, you know, here from the log file, MongoDB connected. So that means it's able to contact to the MongoDB. But still, if I go to the UI and try to refresh, it will not work, because you told catalog that where is the information of MongoDB, but did you told your front end that this is the information of your catalog? No, you didn't told. Okay, so that information I have to update. So let me go to the front end box. So sudo su -, so there is a configuration we updated, etc nginx and then default.d and then roboshop.conf. So here you come to it is proxy passing the catalog to the local host. No, it's not local host. Local host means same server, and I want to point to my catalog server. So what is my catalog server IP address? You go here and you take a catalog, and this is a catalog server internal IP address, because all these machines are internal. I want to communicate internal. So if I want to connect outside of Amazon from my local desktop, I want to connect to Amazon, then only the public IP. Otherwise, it is private IP. I think I already explained you this concept, right? So you give that particular IP address, save and quit. Now systemctl restart Nginx, and you go here, go to the RoboShop. I am hoping it is going to work if I do a refresh button. See that? So now the catalog application, you brought it up, you're telling your Nginx where it has to look for catalog, and it's actually going to that catalog server, knocking the catalog server, asking the information, and catalog server is actually knocking the database and fetching the information and giving it to your front end. Front end is actually structuring it and actually putting it on the UI. Okay, so this is the whole functionality, basically how it works, any component basically. Hoping a lot of questions will come. Yeah, any questions? Any questions? All good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So you came from root user to normal user for that service, right? MongoDB.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why we need to come to normal user for that?
So like let's say you have a shop and you close the shutter, like who customer will access it? You open the shutter, right? Just you open the door.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Sorry.
You have a shop. You have a shop. You close the door and you expect the customer to access your.
No. How it won't happen? Yeah.
You have to open it, right? So the local host is something like you do the business which is yourself. Like no one outside can, so come to your. Come to buy something. Only you can buy your own product, kind of thing. That technically not the right thing. But the service actually comes shipping up with that configuration. But what we want is, so we want someone to be accessing from the outside. So that's where I have to open the doors, and opening the doors on the configuration level I'm doing is, hey, it's not only the local host, not only the local people contacts my database, even the other people also will contact my database on the network level. I'm changing the strategy from local server to network. So that means I'm putting my service on the network now. So that's where someone can talk to my.
Okay. So I have a small doubt, Raghu. So which I have practiced last day. So when I installed Nginx, I have received some error. So saying no package Nginx available and no nothing to do.
Yeah, Slack me. What you did wrong, we'll see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I forgot I've put it on WhatsApp. So I'll put it on Slack today. Yeah.
All right. Anyone? Any other questions? Everyone should understand this clear structure. Okay, why? What's happened until now? What happened? That logic should not break. Any one of you, any question is also fine, but for you, you should not have a logical question. From the session, you should understand the logics only. Like the configuration, you can go and practice it later. Logically, what I did is correct or not, you should understand that. And logical questions is what you should majorly focus on. You should clear it because that's the major thing. Okay, so end of the day, doing the configuration is not a big deal. Okay, so understanding the concept is a quite important thing. Yeah. Any other questions? Is everyone clear on what's the process happened? So we have three layers basically, right? So we had front end. So to the front end, actually, I'm telling, okay, hey, this is my catalog. And to the catalog, I'm telling, hey, this is my MongoDB. So that's where you hit a call to the front end, asking for catalog, and it's went to the catalog and asked not it, and this catalog went to the MongoDB. MongoDB is a database. It's storing all the schema related, all the objects, whatever you're seeing is actually on the Mongo. Okay, if I want to show you what is the products you have. The products you have is click on AI, you have HL, some products you have, right? Now this basically actually comes from Mongo. Okay, so Mongo basically show DBS, and it's a catalog, use catalog. I'm just going into catalog, inside catalog, and so I'll say show collections. It's actually, there is a product basically. I don't know how to get the list all values in collection Mongo. I also don't know, so I'll also do this all the time. Okay, I'll get it on the fly. But the major thing is I should know what actually I'm doing. Okay, that's what I'm doing is quite important. I mean to say, like, what I should do is kind of something I should know already. Otherwise, yeah, it's otherwise it is difficult for you to even find out what you want, right? So now I think the DB collection, db.collection, no, list all values inside a collection. Yeah, this is the question. So she show DBS, use the database, show collections, and find. Yeah, this is the one. So collection name actually here is db.products. So now you see this, all the products, whatever you have there is actually coming here. So Stan, okay, artificial intelligence, okay. So HAL1, all these are actually, the content basically. Okay. All right. So this is how you are actually getting the list of products there. Okay. Yeah. So it's actually there in the database. So now if you refer the diagram, basically, so the data is actually there in this particular one. And so what you're actually getting is the catalog is talking to the database and fetching the information and providing that particular information where the front end can understand, and front end is stacking it and displaying on the page. Okay. So this is how it is. Like, let's say you take your you take your gmail.com. So you open gmail.com, it's a web interface, right? And after that, inside that, you will be having a mail service, which mail service will not store all the information of your mails. What it does is it actually has some database in the backend. It talks to the database and asks your your username and something like that, pass some information that, okay, So this is the username, this is the, so this is his email address, and I need those particular guys list of information. Then it pulls that information and give it to you, and that's where that chip is placed on the front end screen. As simple as that to put it there. Yeah, Nikhil.
Yeah, Raghu, in the MongoDB configuration file, I think when you were referencing the catalog server, you opened it to 0.0, like to everything. Is that the best practice, or should we use or should we use specific server's IP that is going to talk to?
No, they themselves is actually giving to bind all. It's 0.0.0. Okay, so on the firewall level, you'll have a firewalls basically. Okay, on the service level, you don't actually put much head in order to do that, and that's not how it works basically. So there's a firewall, and to the firewall of this server, I can say that only catalog can contact. Okay, I can do that. That's outside on the network layer, but not on the service. Yeah. But also some databases, you take Oracle database or some typical databases like MySQL and all. The database itself will come up with a flexibility of so providing access to a particular IP address. Okay, in that case, you can get you can access directly through the database as well. So it all depends upon the database software also, which database you are using. At least with MongoDB, that is not possible. With MySQL or Oracle DB, it is possible. Yeah, but still can be achievable on the network level. Same thing. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, one part is done. So catalog, first screenshot, whatever we are supposed to get it is done. Okay, we did only one screenshot, right? So this screenshot is done. So the catalog is working. So the next one is I go and register, then the user service also should make it work. Okay, let's go and take a look. So if I go here and if I go to the register for now, I will just get Raghu. I'm just clicking on register, it will throw me an error because the components are not there and it's not working. So I will say that will not work. Okay. So the register, this will not work. So what are the components we need to set it up? So the user service. And if you go back to the diagram, so the user service is actually depends on which service. It actually depends on MongoDB. Mongo is already there, and user also depends on Redis caching. Okay. So yeah, so we also have that particular one as well. So we need to set up those things, and then we should be able to see this. The next one is Redis. What is Redis? Caching. Okay, why you need caching? Okay, so at least if you are from an engineering background, so I would assume that you know what is a caching, because usually you will get it in I mean, I'm not sure at least other country people, but yeah, whoever has done some education around India, so basically your engineering you will have a caching concept, so very clearly talked about in your graduation basically, right? So what is the caching? It is there everywhere. Okay, so you start from processor basically, right? So now let's say so you open Amazon.com and you're trying to purchase a laptop. So they will show i5 of one processor of the same, they'll say i5, the same configuration. One will show a less configuration, I mean less price, one will show a high price. Even from the same vendor, even on the same website also, you will see different actually prices. Okay, so why that price difference comes into picture is, so one of the factor, not everything, one of the factor which comes into this place is caching. Caching is a kind of very important. Okay, so whenever you do any transaction, okay, so whenever you do any transaction, it goes over the caching layer only. It's a RAM. You have RAM, right? So RAM is your caching basically. Okay, so just to put you, let me. Yeah. So basically, how your hardware calls will happen. Now let's say a simple thing. You have a file there. Okay, so you have a file, you have a text document. So what you did is you basically double clicked on that. Okay, you click on that. So that means the file should open, right? Now where the file resides on, the file resides on a hard disk. Okay, now how operating system actually sends a call to the hardware, right? So your operating system, you double clicked on that, so then it sends in that particular instruction to the OS, and OS will talk to the hardware, and the hardware, so first it will look into the RAM. Okay, who actually, okay, so that means you're actually asking for a request, processing something, so that's where the CPU comes into picture. So the request is being sent to CPU to do the processing of your request. Now the CPU, okay, has to fetch this information wherever it is. It has to fetch the information. Now it goes and looks into the memory. So in which place actually it looks is memory. It will not directly jump onto the hard disk. It will never, and that's not how any things works. So memory, because memory is much faster than your hard disk. Okay, the memory system would be much faster, right? The same thing, you put 2 terabytes of hard disk, the system will not become faster, no way. But if you're having some 8 GB of RAM, you put 16 GB of RAM, your system becomes faster, right? So why? Because yeah, that's a major one, because you're having more space for the operating system to run the thing, so that's where it becomes faster basically. And everything will be loaded in the memory only, or most of your operating system components will store in the memory only. Okay, so that's fine. Now memory, okay, it looks into the memory, and the memory, it doesn't have the information. Then what it does is it actually goes and talk to the hard disk. Then will it immediately pull it? No, it actually pulls it and keep it in the memory. Even though whether you need it next time or you don't need it next time, it keeps in the memory, and from the memory only it will read it and it will display on the file or screen or whatever it is, right? So now in the CPU also you'll be having some more caching here, okay, to make the things a bit faster. Okay, so they also have one component, so caching. Okay, and this is also caching. It's also caching. Okay, it has a lot of cache. CPU will have its some certain operations, it tries to keep its cache, and that's where more the cache, more faster it is, right? Now why this caching is needed now? So okay, this is a fundamental cache, right? So everyone knows about this in general. Now, so my application, basically my catalog, or my, like, let's say my user, basically my user will talking to MongoDB, will talk to MongoDB. Okay, so that's fine. Now let's say I mean, I go to my user profile, I do click, I'll go to my other option user profile, I click on click. Lot of clicks are happening. Now every request should go to the database to fetch the information. So then what's going to happen? What's going to happen is so the database performance degrades. Okay, so performance is going to be not that much. Performance degrades will happen because a lot of requests are coming, okay, to that. So not only the one user, there might be 1 million users. Like you take a systems like Google, okay, a lot of users actually, you know, so logs in every second, right? So that's where a lot of load goes into the okay, so for every request it's going into the database, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's where, okay, so the people come up with some alternate thing, so which is called as, for the first request you go to the, okay, database, and what it does is, what you can go for is you bring a cache, okay, and give it to that particular give it to this particular user. This user will always talk to this cache for any of the information. It will not go to the database anymore unless until you kind of a pressure refresh, or else the caching mechanism is there, you know, so after a few hours it automatically has to sync up the data, so some operations will be there. Only in such cases, okay, it will go to the database. But a lot of your effort has been okay, a lot of your access will be coming from cache. I think you definitely know this particular concept in Gmail. Basically Gmail, you open 2 windows, okay, so you delete on one window, you try to delete a mail, and you go to another window, okay, you will still see that email, okay, but you refresh, it will go away. Okay, even you click on that mail also, it will still show you that mail, even though after you delete it. You go to the delete and you go to the trash and you empty it also, you'll still see the email from the other window. I hope everyone knows this, right? So why? Because it's caching. Okay, it cannot actually go to the database every time. It's actually caching. Okay, so, and this caching, okay, is offered by Redis, as a separate system. Until then it was a memory, and until now, you know, so you know things as a memory. Okay, so now Redis comes as, Okay, Redis comes as a caching service. Okay, so which can be hosted on a separate server altogether. Okay, it offers a service. Okay, and also the very beautiful thing is it offers the cache over HTTP call. You make a HTTP call, you get a caching, right? So that's the importance of microservices. Every service to service, how they contact is over the caching, basically, over the caching, and that's where yeah. So this comes into picture. Okay, so yeah, caching is a very quite important factor, and even I can show you something. Just trying to open something. So at least some of my project, some of my ongoing project, basically some data, just to give you some context around that. So you see this, I have so I have at least 13 microservices I'm having. Okay, so those 13 microservices will talk to only one database here. Okay, which is basically is a MongoDB database. So this is a MongoDB database, which is even the port number is same, so 27017. And if you look into the MongoDB netstat -lntb, so which is going to be 27017, right? So which is one MongoDB. So 13 components will talk to my single database only. Database side, it's actually single. But when it comes to the caching, so for credentials, storing the credentials, the developers are using a separate caching. Okay, for storing the credentials. For storing some master script. Master script is nothing but it's a stock exchange application. Okay, so stock exchange application, whenever you are actually trying to search for some stock to purchase, basically those all will be pulled and kept in a cache. That's where we're actually every time I cannot go to the exchange call. Okay, my application, every day, so few hours before, whenever the market opens, I mean, this market guys actually provide some information about the latest data. Okay, so every day they provide. So some stocks may go, some stocks may go into blacklist. Okay, some new stocks might add. Okay, so all those information, they'll update that information. So every day, once in a day, we pull that particular information, we'll keep it in the cache. Okay, and such service. So such service is something like, basically it's the user profile such service. Okay, so he needs a history of about what all the purchases he made, something like that. Okay, so that's something such service. And user profile cache, basically user profile cache is the user information, his mobile number, his identification, PAN card number, all his details, basically any of the personal information. We are having a user cache like this. Separate caches are there. Okay, so cache is a quite important thing. Okay, every application will have. Database might be still same. So in the same database, we are storing the credentials. We're storing the we're storing the same such service related information, user cache. Everything still sits on the same database software as a different databases. Okay, but when it comes to the caching, they're putting in different places because they cannot keep it in one place for some compliance issue, whatever it is. So that's the reason they're going with multiple. And performance is also another factor. Everyone again talking to the same Redis over the network calls, again it becomes like a database, right? So we want to split it up. We want to split it into multiple pieces so that you'll get into performance. Okay, so whatever it is, okay, so you should understand the Redis offers the caching as a service which can run on a different server. And the very important beautiful thing is it offers the so caching over a HTTP call. You make a HTTP call, you get the response of the caching. Okay, if it's a memory and all, it's not possible, right? So that's where so Redis is a very beautiful thing there. And that's where this guy is also, for user service, he is using caching. Okay, so the same standard, he is also following the same standard. Even my project also, we're having the same thing, right? So for user service, we are having caching. Okay, so that's where we need to set up the caching now. Clear? Any questions? So I'm going to launch the instances. 2 instances I want now. So one is for cart and the other one is for one is for cart and the other one is for Redis. Okay, 2 instances. One is for user service, not cart, sorry, and the other one is Redis. So let's log into Redis server and you'll be doing and installing Redis. So search this one. And okay, so this is Redis. Now let's go to the Redis documentation, and what Redis is telling is quite simple. You just install install Redis. Why? So there's one extra package you are trying to install to manage it, and so you're going to get the repo files through an RPM. So previously MongoDB, they are offering the repo file as a text. You're taking the text and keeping in the repo file, but these guys are actually providing the repo file as an RPM. You can just use that. And mconfig manager. Mconfig manager, you don't know this command, so but basically it's only a part of yum command. So telling that so enable the repository, which is a REMI repository. So you install one repository, you want to enable that, you just do that. Okay, so do this. All right, and the next one is yum install Redis.
Hey Raghu, quick question. What are the what is the repository concept? Is that important?
Yum repository concept.
Oh,
Yum repository, right? Yum should be downloading commands from somewhere. So that means it should have some information, right? That is called as a repository. So all the information will be stored in yum.repos.d. So here you'll find out a repo file. So now what you did is you installed some REMI, you got some REMI, okay, REMI packages. So this is the REMI.repo. So you just go there. So it is telling where it go and download the package. Extra extra packages information you're adding as a repository information to the yum command, and yum command will go into that location and do that. That's make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
So you install Redis. Redis also the same story. It also gives a cache as local. We need to update that guy as also from 127 to 0.0.0. And we open that file. So somewhere you'll find out /127. Here it is. Yeah, here the bind actually given as so 127.0.0.1. Replace it and as 0.0.0. So 7th bit. Now systemctl enable Redis, systemctl start Redis. Okay, so let's start -lntp, and it opens a 6379 port number. Perfect. So this is done. Okay, Redis is done. So what is the next one? So which is a user service. Okay, let's go and do the user service as well. User service is also written on Node.js. Again, we'll be going with the Node.js installation. But first let me log into the server. Search. sudo su hyphen set hyphen host name, which is user. Disable exit once sudo su hyphen once the name comes as user. So here user service, and the next thing is go with the documentation. Okay, so yeah, anyhow, you already downloaded as a root user. That's not a problem, but we should be switching to RoboShop. Normal user, you should do that. That's okay. You already downloaded. That's fine. So mkdir user, but the remaining steps must be done as normal user. So cd user and cd user and unzip the file of which is there in /tmp user.zip file, and then ls, and then go for npm install. It's also like a Node.js service. What all the dependencies needed, just trying to download them. And yeah, so we just did that. Now the same thing. So now you need to tell, so this particular service file. So this particular service file, what all the things you need to mention? It's a Redis host IP address you have to give. Okay, and also MongoDB. All right. So Redis server IP address is this. Take this, paste it, and Mongo also the same thing. Mongo IP address, take this, so 7. So done, and the next one is come as a root user. So there are other commands out there in the documentation. So here it is, systemctl daemon reload, systemctl start user. Systems, no, we didn't move the first command. Move this command, paste it, do the daemon reload, and start the user and enable user. Okay, systemctl status user. Okay, so you have it active and running. Just fine. Also in the messages, it is showing you that it is Redis is ready. MongoDB also is connected. Now all I have to do is I have to go to my front end and say to my RoboShop configuration stating this is a user. User is not local host. User is actually on the user server. User server IP address is this one, and take this, paste it here. So 7, quit. So then systemctl already start Nginx on this. I'll go to the browser. So now try to give the data. So if I click on register, it's perfectly work fine. You got the registration done. So that means the user service also work fine. So the user along with the, so that the second screenshot is also done. Okay, so the second screenshot is done. So you have user service work. So the next one is a cart service and a shipping service and payment service. So 3 more screenshots and the 3 more services we probably try to cover it in tomorrow's session. And that's all for today. Yeah, so that's all. Any questions? So since I'm done with my work, I'll just go and stop the instances. Yeah. Yes, Mark.
Yeah, good question. I think we configured correctly the IP address to the MongoDB and link to the user. But if we by any chance we do a mistake, like the private IP is incorrectly configured, so what type of error goes and how can we identify that?
Things will not work. Okay, so in the so we are seeing the messages, right? Basically, so once after you start the service, so there you will get an error basically. That's it.
Okay.
MongoDB connected, it is telling. The later it will say that Mongo error. It will clearly show that. Yeah. So then you should realize basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. All right. No questions. We'll meet in tomorrow's session then. Thank you and see you tomorrow. Bye. Good day. Good night.
Raghu,
yeah, Venkat.
Raghu, say it's not like today's class. See, yesterday also I tried to correct it through Putty and Excel, but still I'm getting the same network.
You are using which tool? Excel.
Putty and Excel also.
Excel also you're getting the same issue.
Yes, same issue.
Yeah, try to check on another machine. Okay, in parallel, I mentioned, right? Did you try that?
But no, in the same machine, while the same server able to access through the Katacoda.
No, Katacoda means the browser you're accessing, but connection is happening from the Katacoda server to that server, not from your local system.
Okay. No, because I don't have any other system, but I have only one laptop.
So try it with some of your friends, ask your friend or someone. Because I tried yesterday, it's working fine for me. There is something wrong with your system configuration only. So just to cross check with any other systems, basically. Or install the SSH client in your mobile also, you can try. Okay, it will work.
Okay, in my SSH. So
if you have that.
So do you need to install the Putty in my mobile or?
Yeah, there are some other utilities. You type in your Play Store or App Store SSH clients, you'll get it.
Okay.
You can do that. Just to cross verify. If Katacoda is working fine, that means you already cross verified. That is your system problem, whatever it is. Try to format and give a try. I don't know. Windows, yeah, I'm useless fellow to Windows. I cannot be useful. Yeah.
Yeah, sure then. We'll try.